Avery Caudill, and this is my first food presentation, which I did over sauerkraut. So, some history and culture about sauerkraut. Americans think of it obviously as a European origin, specifically Germany. Although Germany definitely has done this recipe for a really long time, it actually originated in China, and most well known for actually being the food that was given to people constructing the Great Wall. Because it can be made in abundances and it's really easy to make, and especially what was accessible to them at the time with having rice fields, they would use some of the rice wine and make it that way. So an easy, quick way to feed a lot of hungry workers. Today, the cabbage isn't like it was originally was. So today we actually use more of a salt and pickle base, which is the process of pickling, which is what we do with the cabbage in this recipe. So overall, the history and the culture origination of sauerkraut has become jaded with the false German origin. So most even Asians today don't know that the food came from Chinese history. A funny story that I actually read from my source was that some people from BMW came to China and the Chinese were feeding them sauerkraut thinking, well, this is what Germans eat. And they were like, actually, surprisingly, little did you know, this originated here. Here's the nutrient composition of sauerkraut. 19 calories, 0 fat, 4 grams of carbohydrates, 1 gram of protein, 2 grams of fiber. I added vitamin C, calcium, and potassium because they all had pretty high rates. So overall, it's not all that much substance, but it's usually paired with a meat of some sort. So some relationship to diseases, it's easily linked to inflammation, which causes diarrhea and other types of oxidation type diseases. Due to high sodium levels, the meal can be bad for kidney disease, heart disease, and possibly lead to strokes. Main ingredients I focused on here were, especially when it comes to cabbage, you want to make sure sauerkraut is organically sourced and is coming from a direct source to avoid pasteurization during canning, which is pretty well known with veggies, which is a lot of people buy organic. When it comes to pickling with mustard seeds, caraway seeds, and pickling salt, it's best to get or make sauerkraut in a well-sealed mason jar to make sure that no bad bacteria can get in there, as that easily happens. So with agriculture, with the main ingredient being cabbage, the prime season to make sauerkraut is in the spring, that being peak cabbage time. And although with how it's made, it does have to sit for several months in some cases. So traditionally, the winter can be a good time to eat it, and that's kind of when it's traditionally eaten because it lasts so long in the type of storage that it has, being tightly sealed in a mason jar. But overall, it's available year-round for the most part. Here's the preparation. So 8 to 10 cups of shredded cabbage, 10 juniper beans, 1 teaspoon caraway seeds, 1 teaspoon mustard seeds, 3 teaspoons of pickling salt, and 1 cup of filtered water. That's the recipe that I found for more of a larger portion, I guess. So you want to mix all these together in a non-metal bowl, and you want to let them sit for 10 minutes before you'll mix it again. You want to make sure your jar is sterilized, and then you'll pack the jar with the mixture with a wooden spoon. Pour all the remaining salt and water until it reaches the rim of the jar, and just set the cap loosely. It's going to bubble, so make sure you put it in a tray, and that's also why you put on the jar loosely. Once bubbling is stopped, fill it the rest of the way with more water and salt. For every teaspoon of salt you use, you need to use a cup of water for ratio purposes. Keep the jar sitting on the tray for 1 to 3 weeks at 65 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, so room temperature. And then once this is done, you'll soak off any film or white spots it easily gets, which aren't harmful. And then you'll close the jar tightly and store it in the refrigerator, and you're good to go. So tasting for me, I've been around sauerkraut before, but I've just refused to try it. And once I did, I realized I was right in that, and I did not like it. I tried it a few more times and just tried to like get it down. And the pork I added to it, I added like a shredded pork, and it definitely helped. But I was kind of finding I was picking the pork more out of the recipe than I was actually eating the sauerkraut near the end of it. So the name definitely matches the sour taste. The berries that go in it, they have like a citrusy, piney taste, I guess. And those being pickled just didn't do it for me. It was just gross, personally. Um, but in Germany, the recipe is often served with sausage, and in America, I'm sure you've seen me often put it on hot dogs. Here's a picture of that. And then comparison, so sauerkraut has been around in my family a lot growing up. We're German and Ukrainian, so it's made a lot during family reunions and stuff like that, just in large groups. It's easily made in large portions. So I texted my grandma. She's definitely happy I finally tried it. Not so happy I didn't like it, but happy I tried it. In German culture, it's also made for large parties commonly and served with German pork sausage. Traditionally, people think of stuff like Oktoberfest and sauerkraut being served, and that's true. However, it's definitely heavily Americanized at this point. And here are my references. So that's all. Thank you.